Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of Stocks for Breakfast. Thank you so much for choosing to be with me today. We have a ton of stuff to talk about today. Earnings, new contracts, Bitcoin crushing all-time highs again. Let's see if it stays up there. But what an amazing week for Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining stocks. We're going to talk about PLTR this morning. We're going to talk about the metaverse this morning. We're going to break down our sector rotation again this morning. Got a ton of actionable ideas today. We're also going to show you a sneak peek into our coaching call last night. We have two coaching calls in the boot camp on Monday night and Wednesday night. And we also have a swing trading review session on Sunday night. I want to give you a bunch of questions that you could take a screenshot of and hopefully use for yourself right now so you can really start to dig in. One of the biggest questions that we got was about following your plan. How do you follow your plan? How do you not hesitate? And we have an absolute answer for that instantly changes how much confidence and conviction you have when you're trading. And really, isn't that really what we're all after, having that conviction level? So stick around. Be back in just 1 second. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here with me today. I'm just eternally grateful that you're here. Everything that we discuss here is for educational purposes. It's up to you to make that final decision. I just want to make sure I say hello to somebody this morning who I haven't spoken to in a while. Todd Blanchard, awesome to see you here this morning. I haven't seen you in a while. Just awesome to see you with us this morning. John Weinberg, good morning. Winnie, always a pleasure, Winnie. Let's see. Ian Murphy, actually, I replied to your question yesterday, Ian. I think it was last night that you had posted it. All right. Who else? Ruby. Good morning. Oh, actually, can I sing? Ruby Tuesday. Good morning. Ruby Tuesday. All right. So I want to get right into it. Yep. Kevin, we talked about EVGO yesterday. Absolutely good follow through. Now it's a question of the next day. If you remember yesterday, we spoke about the gap and then the day after the gap. So actually a lot of those electric vehicle charging station stocks that had some good gaps yesterday. Now we're looking to see follow through. Another stock yesterday that we're actually going to take a look at right now, which I don't know if anybody happened to be watching this one for a while, but LAZR. I traded this stock quite a bit last year over here, kind of stopped over here, got kind of choppy, but you can see over here it's up 46%. 46%. They signed a big contract. Take a look, do your research, do your due diligence, but 46% is a big deal. Now, here's a big topic of conversation with, we're going to get into Coinbase earnings and whether or not that stock is a buy this morning. Hopefully you watched yesterday morning's video. We talked about Roblox, RBLX, Roblox, and actually Roblox. And we actually said that the metaverse is a big topic right now. We expected earnings to beat. They did. We're getting follow through. And we got some more conversations this morning about the metaverse as well. We're going to talk about AMD signing a contract with Meta, formerly known as Facebook, and what that means for the stock. We're also going to talk about this morning why I do not think it's the right time to buy AMD after good earnings, after that news with the contract they signed in Meta, simply from a risk-reward perspective. So hopefully you take a look at LAZR today. They signed a really big deal. But I want to get into coin. Coin is the biggest reason that we're here today. Let's actually get right into the news just a little bit. So Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining stocks, right? So Coinbase, let's actually go over to Bitcoin and take a look first at the amazing, just absolutely amazing price action. You can see, and let me drop this down a little bit. We got through, this was the previous all-time high. We kissed it, got all the way up to, what's that level, 69 and change. So there's no question at all right now that Bitcoin and all things Bitcoin related are seeing some just amazing, amazing buying opportunities right now. The only question is, are you chasing? And the answer really at this point is you're not. And let me explain why. If you're a regular subscriber to the channel, you know that we're constantly talking about a push and a pause, a push and a pause. And we really, this is only 2 days into the move. We're not like the fourth, the fifth, or the sixth day into the move. It's only the second day. So what does that mean? Well, that means me personally, I'm still going to be looking to buy Bitcoin and still be looking to buy Bitcoin related stocks because they're not really overextended. Maybe Mara is a little bit, just based on the gaps that it's had recently. It's up another 6% this morning. So remember, we spoke recently. I think Pam Hicks was the one who asked the question about how do you adjust after if your buy stop, your entry is here, and your target or where you expect the stock to go is here, and it's already gapped up a decent amount, you have to start to shift your position sizing, anticipating a pause before the next push again. So this kind of scenario, if I wasn't long already, long meaning being a buyer, at this point, after it was up 18% yesterday and another 6%, that's 24% in a day plus a morning, I'd start to work the order here. There's not a question, pick a side, pick a spot. It's not a question whether or not Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related stuff is a buying opportunity. It's a question of the right spot. So at that point right now, including this morning's gap, I still like it, but I'd like it with a little bit less shares, with anticipating a pause, maybe even a little bit of a pullback, looking for the next move. How does that translate into trading coin? Well, I want to talk about coin in the context of PLTR because it matters. And actually the same thing with the AMD news that we just talked about before. So you can see here that, let's actually give you the exact number. And we'll start down here from where this rally started. 60% in 25 bars, which is what, 5 weeks? So 60% in 5 weeks in coin, as quite frankly, it should be, right? We are in the midst of, you know, is this .com boom 0.20, 2.0, 3.0? I don't know. All I know is you can't ignore it. Whether you love Bitcoin, never heard of Bitcoin, don't understand Bitcoin, it's not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, I think it's actually in its infancy right now. I personally am only trading the Bitcoin related stocks right now. Obviously, we're stock trading pros, so I'm sticking to stocks. But what does that mean for Coinbase? So first thing we need to do is we need to take a look at what's expected. So if you remember yesterday when we looked at RBLX, and we'll just take a look at that right now, just to give a comparison, we were very clear that the expectations were what we were looking for, not the raw numbers. So many people are like, oh my God, the revenue is $1 billion. It was supposed to be 980 million. That's awesome. That's not enough. Remember, you need to go one layer deeper to determine what was the expected growth rate and how did that translate. We expected this to be good with all the metaverse conversation. Obviously, everybody's getting into meta. Let me zoom that in for you so you can actually see it a little bit better. Big tech seeking its next fortune in the metaverse. So the metaverse is here, right? However, remember what we said, expectation, right? Expectation is what we're looking for. So using PLTR as an example, which reported this morning, a lot of people love this stock, right? However, PLTR came out with what was expected. Did not rock anybody's world. It was like, yeah, those are good numbers. It was exactly what we thought. That's not what we're paying for. Remember, we're paying for the next quarter, the next 6 months, the next 12 months. If the expectations come out with what was expected, it didn't surprise by any stretch of the imagination, you're going to get the kind of opening that you're looking at PLTR right now, which is it's down 3%. That kind of gives you clues on what we should be looking for. So now what are we looking for in Coinbase here, right? So Coinbase, let me zoom this out so you can actually take a look. This is what we're looking for. So again, hopefully I'm training your eyes to like really look at the number. What is expected and what is the growth rate of that? So it's expecting an EPS of 182. So now immediately you just have the raw number. You're like, okay, that's cool. And transactions coming in at 1.614 billion. So this is actually after the close today, right? So we're not so much concerned about the stock price right now. We're concerned about the action of the stock price heading into earnings and what was expected. Now, the call yesterday on the metaverse, I think, was actually a pretty easy one. I mean, metaverse conversations are going everywhere, from where Facebook changing its name to Meta. Meta's here to stay. Meta is going to be in our consciousness. I don't know personally, as a 56-year-old man, if I'm ready to start living in a digital world, although maybe we're doing that right now. But Coinbase is a little bit different. It's had this monster rally. It's feeding off the monster rally in Bitcoin. So where does it go from here? Generally speaking, we would be talking about a chart like this. And let me just pull that up right now. We'd be generally talking about a chart like this and be, well, we're most likely going to be selling the news because a monster rally into the earnings report. So you kind of have the anticipation of what the numbers are going to be. You get this big spike up into the numbers, and then generally the number comes out and, okay, that's awesome. It was priced in, right? However, Coinbase, the whole Bitcoin universe, the whole cryptocurrency universe, it's kind of on fire right now, especially so Bitcoin actually hitting new all-time highs today. They also had some new noise on Bitcoin and Ethereum, both coming up with a new form of technology that's supposed to be a little bit more secure, for lack of a better way of putting it. I'm not so quick to say this is going to be a sell the news event. It would not shock me at all right now if the expectations beat and we start to see coin take off at least after hours into tomorrow. Then we might see a little bit of profit taking. But personally, the same way that we've been lining up all of the trades and the earnings over the last week and a half, we said that we thought it was going to be hard for Facebook to have good numbers after, but don't be shocked if we see a short covering rally, which we actually did end up getting a short covering rally, which, by the way, I want to talk about that for 1 second. When Facebook punched down here, coming out of this pause, I'll give you a little bit better view here. When it punched, earnings were here, traded lower, punched down on heavier volume and did not follow through. Inside of our community, we actually talked about the fact that there was a good chance there was going to be a short covering rally, because when heavy volume comes in, either on a breakout or a breakdown, and does not follow through, remember, everything we talk about every day is what do I want to see, what don't I want to see, and that's where your actions come from. That's where you script, and that's where trading becomes fun. It becomes easy. It becomes enjoyable because you know what you're going to do it before you need to do it. So if we're looking at Facebook earnings, were not as expected, punched down and did not follow through. That's the kind of price action that we kind of forecast and said, be careful about a short covering rally here. Don't just short Facebook because of the bad earnings. Big money stepped in, stopped it from going down, and now we've had almost a $40 rally after earnings after it punched down. So these are the kind of things that separate somebody from just reading chart patterns or somebody who's a tape reader and a trader who's putting those pieces together. So I hope that I'm inspiring you to think just a little bit deeper every day on some of the ideas and whether or not, oh yeah, it's going down, I definitely want to short it. Start putting those pieces together. So if we bring that back to coin right now, there's a bigger piece of the equation right now, which is the cryptocurrency universe right now. It's on fire. So what I'm actually looking to see end up happening here, I believe that they're going to end up beating their expectations. I believe that the growth rate on both EPS as well as earnings are going to beat. And I think we're going to get a pop after hours today when they report today. So we'll see how it unfolds. But again, now it's 7:42 in the morning. We're creating our if-then scenario. And that's the follow-through that we're looking for. So tomorrow, if we do get a bullish gap, then the next day will be just as important, because that next day after, which we kind of saw in Qualcomm yesterday, where if you get follow-up, that means that buyers stepped back up and held it. So we had the giant bullish gap here, followed up by the next day of bullish well bid again. Remember, higher highs and higher lows. So like, okay, great. That's validation that the smart money stepped back in and held it there. We've seen a lot of other trades that have gapped up and just slowly melted back down. They didn't step back up. They were like, okay, that's the right price. We need to see a little bit better pricing before we start to think where it's going after this, before we start to add shares to that position. I also want to point out AMD yesterday. If you didn't happen to catch AMD, AMD surged on, again, sticking with Meta and new contracts. They got a new contract with Meta yesterday. Let me actually make that a little bigger so you can see it. AMD, actually a giant move yesterday. I want to take a look at the chart because I just want to point out, if you happen to be day trading yesterday and happen to be day trading in our community, Aldo called this out in real time yesterday, and I don't know if the timing could have been any better. It actually got up to a level that we normally watch, and then it formed one of our favorite patterns just before it exploded. Aldo called it out yesterday. But now here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. And this is really where you start to separate yourself from mediocre to I know what the heck I'm doing, and I'm really trading awesome. AMD had good earnings, traded higher. AMD has a new contract with Meta, trading higher. Is now the ideal time to be initiating a new trade? Remember, yesterday we talked about risk reward and making sure that if you take a trade, you need to have a certain amount of initial reward on that trade to justify taking risk. We also talked about how far has the stock normally gone at the point when you want to place your entry. And again, the better timing you have, the more you notice and the better you read the tape, the better entries you're going to get. We actually had somebody yesterday talking about every time they put on a trade, it seems like it moves against them. And that's a timing issue. That means that you really need to understand, what does the stock normally do and where is it right now compared to when I'm going to buy it. That's where, again, raise your hand if this has happened to you. You buy it, you see it, you read the news, and it looks awesome. You buy it because you're not paying attention, just buying it because it's in the news and moving. You get long, maybe it moves one day in your favor, pulls back for 3 days, shakes you out, and then does exactly what it was supposed to do. So remember, every day we're talking about a push and a pause. We're looking, that push is institutions, the smart money stepping up, paying higher prices. The pause is they're taking a break and seeing how the market reacts to that. If the market holds the bid, if it goes up and goes sideways, it goes up and pulls back just a little bit, that's the pause, and then they step back in if they have more shares to buy. So if you're buying after a push, not waiting for the pause, you're going to most likely be the person on the other side of that trade where you got involved at the wrong time and you just weren't paying attention to the entry and the price action prior to that. Again, you probably have enough information in there to really understand what it means to be a trader, but you just got to really use it. And I'm actually going to show you a coaching call that we had last night. I want you to take a snapshot of it. I'm going to jump into that because it's very relevant to what we're talking about right now. So what you can see here in AMD, two really good news stories, earnings as well as this contract. I am not looking to buy the higher opening in AMD today. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting. Most likely, we're going to see a push up today, have a little bit of profit taking off of the news. Plus, that news is probably a part of that. Maybe one more day, then we'll pause, and then I'm going to look for my next entry. We get a lot of questions here all the time about timing. Tell me where to get in and all that kind of stuff. We kind of do all that inside the boot camp. I can't really give the timing here. If you want that, we can talk about that at another time. But I thought that this was a great example of good news, good news, good news, good news. I'm going to buy it. You got to take a look to the left, and it's 116 to 153 in just over a week. That's a pretty big move. So you have to start asking yourself, based on what it normally does, is right now the right time to buy it based on a risk-reward perspective. So in other words, if I risk $5, what are the odds of me making at least 15 and seeing that thing continue? All right. So what I want to talk about right now as well. Somebody actually asked about Plug. We can talk about Plug. Plug is still in play for us right now. You could actually see, and actually this is a pretty good example here. Let me zoom that out a little bit. Plug in the industrial sector, which we've been talking about now, industrials and basic materials working their way up the list, right? You can see 2 and 3 now on the list. So Plug is still in play for us right now. It's in the industrial sector. It's pushed, it paused, it pushed, it paused again. And yesterday the stock went well bid. A little bit lower opening this morning, but I still like the stock long right now. Again, going to work our way over into some other trades. TTD last night. Who brought that up? Somebody just brought that up. Jason Miller looking for follow through on TTD this morning. So where was it? Excuse me, not TD, TTD. Monster gap yesterday, traded right up to resistance. And remember what we said just before. It's the day after the gap that tells you that institutions are still buying that stock. Because if it opens up higher and just slowly melts its way all the way down, they're like, all right, that's it. At that level, it doesn't make sense based on future cash flows. We want to see it come down a little bit to justify that price. Yesterday, we got a nice push. Today, we're looking to see follow through. If we get follow through and this stock stays above 87, 88, could be another good couple of days in this stock. I want to segue over into something that I promised from before, is talking about, we're going to get into industrial stocks and some basic material stocks as well, because those are kind of working their way up to the top, as maybe not basic materials, but we're definitely going to take a look at industrials and technology stocks because they floated to the top of the list again. But I want to talk about our coaching call last night. And I want to show you this to inspire you to understand the deeper levels of thinking, to think about all of the pieces that go into setting up a winning trading plan for yourself, to go into every day expecting to make money because you're prepared. We talk about this all the time in the sense that a lot of people say trading is overwhelming. Trading, there's so many things going on and I can't pay attention to everything. I'm here. I want to tell you this, and I say this from the most sincere way. The trading part of what we do is easy. It's the preparation, learning how to scan for ideas, first having an edge, then learning how to scan for ideas, and being ready when the market opens. That's what separates you from somebody who feels like they're getting their head beat in every day, from somebody when the market opens, you just sit back and you're like, all right, I know exactly which stocks I'm looking at. Now it's just a question of finding entries that make sense from a risk-reward perspective in the stocks I already game planned for. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull up a screen from our coaching call last night. I want you to take a screenshot of it, because I want to inspire you to ask deeper questions. Because again, if you're here and you want to be here, there's a gap. There's something missing in between. So hopefully our coaching call last night could make you think a little bit deeper. And I'll go over some of the ideas. But there's 2 questions on there that are the most important that I want. So I'm going to show it to you first. I want you to screenshot it so you see the questions. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about it. Okay, so this is what we have here. And this is last night's coaching call. Let me make it just a little bit bigger. All right. So what you see here, we had all of these are the calls that we discussed last night. You can see last night's call was 1 hour and 43 minutes. That's how deep we get into it. All right. That's not the point. The point is members of the community have a chance to ask questions. We go over the questions. We talk about software. We talk about everything you could possibly think of. Right. So first I want you to do me a favor, snapshot that. Take a screenshot of that. I want you to actually understand how deeply you must think about trading, how structured your trading needs to be in order to see repeatability, in order to see where you expect to make money on a daily and weekly basis. All right. But there's 2 questions here. Okay. This right here, overcoming analysis paralysis, and do you trust the edge? Now, here's the thing right here. We've all hesitated, right? At some point in our trading career, we've hesitated, and you get to the point where you almost, I'm not going to say afraid to place a trade, but certainly get to the point where, just do me a favor, type yes in the chat if you've ever been to the point where you saw the trade and maybe the last trade didn't make money, or you saw the trade and you're not quite sure and you hesitate. You don't put the trade on, you watch the trade, and all of a sudden it just does exactly what you thought it would do. Then the next trade you put on, you're like, no, I missed the last one. You put that one on, it slowly starts to drift against you. I think we've all done that, right? I'll definitely raise my hand. I did that early in my career. Now, here's the thing. Let's assume you have an edge. All right. Oh, by the way, if you want to attend these coaching calls, this is a part of the boot camp. We have these calls every Monday and Wednesday night. By far, what I believe, by far the most valuable part of what we do, click the link below the description and learn about the boot camp. And if it's for you, fine. But I want you to know that these are available, and we have 216 replays that are available as well. So there's over 200 hours worth of replays in there. But here's the thing I want to, oh, so Lisa, you did that as well. Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. I've been there. So here's the thing. So we can all raise our hand, right? Anybody who's not raising their hand on that is just kind of full of beans. We've all done it at some point in our career. But here's how you get over it. There's 2 ways to instantly, and I promise you, in a heartbeat, you will get over hesitating right now before the market opens, all right? First is, do you have an edge and do you believe in it? Just do me a favor and type in yes. Type in yes or type in no. Actually, that's kind of interesting, all right? Obviously, I have an edge. Our edge is those 3 pillars, right? Stacking the order flow, reading the tape, and risk reversal. So that's my edge, right? So assuming you have an edge and assuming you believe in your strategy. Now, there's 2 ways to believe in your strategy, right, or your edge. Number 1 is you see it play out over and over again, maybe even back tested it. Number 2, and the more potent way of believing in your edge, is actually trading your edge and getting to the point where you're trading it, and you see it follow through. You're like, there's the setup, there's the signal, there's the setup there, and you put the trade on, right? But if you have an edge and you do believe that your edge works, what is the reason you still don't follow it? I'd love to see everybody just actually give me some answers though. Why do you think you don't follow your edge? Assuming you have one, assuming you have setups, assuming you see all that kind of stuff, why do you believe that you don't follow it? Why do you believe you hesitate? Don't know the feeling. Oh, okay. Craig saying that's why I'm here. Richard, sometimes. So here's the answer. Okay. Here's the answer. And if you don't know, I had a trading firm in New York City. We had 300 traders at one time. So I've gone through every conversation about trading, both good and bad, with somebody. Most of it's mental, right? I want you to write this down. Okay. If you have an edge and you believe it works, the only reason you hesitate is because you don't trust yourself to follow. I'm sorry, I'm pointing. You don't trust yourself to follow it. Write that down, please. It's critically important. If you have an edge and don't follow it, it's because you don't trust yourself to follow it. So in other words, if you put a trade on and it moves against you, you don't trust yourself to get out. If you put a trade on and it moves in your favor, you don't trust yourself, or you're not structured enough for when to book those profits. So let's eliminate that right away. Number one is before every trade, accept the risk. You go into that trade, you say, okay, I'm willing to risk $200 on this trade. No matter what, it's good. I see the reward. I think the expectation of going up there is awesome. But if the trade moves against me, I'm okay with risking $200 because the trade looks awesome. It's just a question of follow through. That's step number one. So now you trust yourself to exit a trade if it doesn't work out as a part of that. So you trust yourself on the exit. You're no longer carrying those big losses, no longer averaging down into bad trades. Remember, losers average losers. It's a losing game. Don't do that. Scale back, get out, and look for another entry. So the first part is now you trust yourself to cut your losses because you got right to the point. We said, I'm only risking this amount and I'm okay. Now, the upside of the trade. What's the fastest way to have superhuman discipline on losing trades? Well, have a track record of winning trades. Think about this. If you own a business, and let's say your business has $10,000 a month in expenses, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so many. That's huge, right? But would you feel that $10,000 in expenses was a lot of money if your business did $100,000 a month? You'd be like, no, let's pay the bills. Let's just write that off. That's how you have to start thinking as a trader. Once you understand your edge, once you understand trusting yourself to follow the edge, once you understand losses are nothing more than a business expense, the second goal you have is to trust that you understand how to make more in your winning trades. That's the process of understanding how to make money and grow from chart reader who can see every pattern in the world, but you can't make a dime, to somebody who's a trader and comes in every day expecting to make money. I'm going to show this one more time. I want to ask you to please take a snapshot of this because I really want you to think at a different level. Ask yourself right now, are you chart reading or are you trading? They are not the same thing. So take a screenshot of this one more time. I want you to have that up. It's very, very important. All right. Some really interesting. I think this is probably one of the most interesting parts of last night's conversation, forecasting tomorrow's opening. That was a big deal last night. We actually do have a process of actually predicting what we expect to have happen tomorrow's open. Now, raise your hand if you're a day trader and you're like, oh no, the first 90 minutes a day, it's an absolute mess. No, it's not. When you understand what you're looking for and you script out what you expect to have happen in that first hour of the day, it becomes the golden hour of the day because you know exactly what you expect based on price action. So that was actually a big part of last night's call as well. So look, if you want to get involved in these calls, click the link below and learn about the boot camp. Again, it's 30 days. It's not a subscription. We do this at least twice a week, and we have review sessions on Sunday night. So if you want to elevate yourself and just learn a little bit more, this is what we do all the time. That was an hour and 45 minutes last night, and it was action-packed. It was a really good one last night. So we want to work our way over now into some more trading ideas, right? We've already talked about this, right? We talked about technology stocks. Technology stocks are on fire. We just mentioned AMD is a little bit too late, so mark that down today. AMD has traveled a little bit too far, too fast on two good news stories. Now, you never want to say too far. I'm not putting a limit on AMD. I want to be very clear about that. I'm not saying it can't go up higher. What I'm saying is after those two news stories, right now for me personally is not a good time to initiate a new swing trade. So remember, if you could visualize what we talk about all the time, that push and the pause, the institutions are buying, paying higher prices, anticipating future higher prices. The lower risk entry, or the entry that makes the most sense from a risk reward perspective, is positioning yourself for the next push. So right now in AMD, maybe we get one more day out of it. Then I'm looking for a pause. That pause will end up being my next swing trade position. We're looking for follow through today in RBLX. But now let's tackle this list because I want to give everybody ideas on technology and basic material stocks to trade today. So you have some ideas for your game plan heading into the day. Remember, we talked about PLTR before, and we said their earnings came out this morning, and it was basically what was expected. So let's just go over here again. As you're looking at Coinbase this afternoon and any of those stocks that report today, you do not want to hear somebody say it was expected. You want to hear exceeded. You want to hear the growth rate blew the numbers away, very much like a few stocks did last week. PLTR did not. I am looking for expectations to be exceeded for Coin today. We'll get one big day to the upside if that's how the earnings unfold. then tomorrow, the next day after the gap up, is going to be really the big thing that we're going to pay attention to. Okay, so let's jump into some ideas. I want to make sure everybody has some ideas to watch today, and we could time some entries. We're going to look at technology, and we're going to look at basic materials. Okay, so let's head on over to the charts and look at some ideas. Now, you want to write these down quick because we're going to go over them pretty quickly. We're going to start out at the top of the list. We're going to start out with technology names and work our way straight over into them. Now, Riot, we just talked about Bitcoin. Riot is technically a technology name. You can see it's actually up 8% again. It's up right at that 39.65 level. So you can see here that's right smack right there, right at this resistance level. So this is going to be a level it's going to need to get through there. Qualcomm, we just mentioned before. Again, Qualcomm pausing after 2 days of gapping higher. AMD, we just mentioned, looking for one more day of trading through there. NVIDIA also had good news this night, last night into this morning. Obviously, everybody needs to check their earnings when earnings are coming out, but NVIDIA punched through again. NVIDIA paused, and now it's actually up another $14. So you know what? Let's actually stay on NVIDIA here just for 1 second. Remember how we just talked about AMD? You want to observe the push. You want to be involved in the next push, but the pause is what sets you up for good risk reward. Well, NVIDIA paused for a couple of days here, had this monster move up here, paused for 2 days, had a monster move up, paused for 2 days, and now it's going up again. So start to pay attention to that when you are looking at your new entries. Lyft actually considered a tech stock. Lyft is sitting right at a level it's having a hard time getting through. You can see 55, 56 right in that area. Above 56, then I'm looking for 64, 65. DOCN is another one that is now pushing through to new levels. Probably one of the top ones that I like this morning is DDOG as well. Working our way into the other part of the list, basic materials. Some of these are setting up really well. Some of them are setting up future trades. Actually, you know what? We're going to actually go to the other side of the list, industrials. We're going to go down to number 3 here because I think they're a little bit more in play with the infrastructure bill and whatnot. So BLDR. So again, can you visualize what we just talked about? A push, a pause, and the pause being the better spot to look for a new trade. We've also been talking about recovery stocks, UAL, DAL, RCL. Okay, you can see that they got up to levels and paused. Now we got to learn how to time the entries a little bit. We've also been talking about BE, FedEx. FedEx is actually one of the stocks that's at the top of my list this morning. Caterpillar and Boeing. Boeing, still looking for Boeing to get through that 227.50 to 228 level. It's actually trading lower this morning, but got to keep an eye on this rotation because that's how we find the winners. We catch them here before they hit the headlines. So let me see. Looks like some other trades in here. Oh, actually, Kevin, I'm glad you brought that up. I can't believe I was going to start with this today, and I got so excited about the earnings and other stuff this morning. Thank you, Kevin. We're going to talk about Bitcoin Tilray here. We're going to end it. If you remember yesterday and the day before, which that would make Monday and last Friday, we kept saying not yet, not yet, not yet. We need to see smart money step up. We need to see higher volume. We need to see it closing above certain levels. Then it will have our attention. Tilray woke up yesterday, ironically. Kevin, thank you so much for bringing that one up. So let me just bring up Tilray because it actually did come into our universe yesterday. And look, here's what we're looking at, right? Over here, first spike up, it could not hold the bid. The next spike up, it could not hold the bid. A couple of days ago, spike up, it did not hold. Oh, sorry. Let me hang on a second. Spike up, it did not hold the bid. 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 So what are we looking for today? Tilray was pretty exciting yesterday in the sense that we saw this, okay? Volume stepped up in Tilray yesterday, and it was pretty exciting. It was actually obvious. And how can I word this? Let me actually zoom that out a little bit. Sorry. Let me zoom that out. It was obvious. It held the bid, and this is the big thing right there. It finally closed above the 50-period moving average, which is a big, big level to be keeping an eye on. So what does that mean for Tilray today, and what does that mean for setting up new ideas? First of all, Tilray reacts to every news headline. People are dying for this stock and this cannabis sector to wake up. Every time there's a headline about it's getting passed, everybody, it's going to pass, right? Not yet, okay? It's still conversation. So let's elevate ourselves from just reading the headline, elevate ourselves from just reading that one day of price action. And I want to show you this one more time because this is how you start to read the tape and put the pieces together. Big volume spike, very similar to here. So what are we looking for? We want to see another day like this. We want to see follow through. We want to see it stay above this all important 50-period moving average. Okay. Taking that a step further, I'm going to remove the indicators and we're going to go a little bit deeper. If you've been tracking things with us, you know that we like to work the charts. And we work the charts. We know if there's an existing downtrend, there has to be a line in the sand where it broke that downtrend and you draw a line at the previous low. So now you have your box, basically. That box right there is the right price. Only one of two things can happen. It's going to break down and this will still be validated, or it's just going to dance around in this box. And finally, if it breaks above that box, this will now be the first sign of a new trend in the opposite direction. So let's say that happened yesterday. We need to see it stay above this level. It needs to stay above 12. Write that down. That's the big level. Now we start to kind of forecast a little bit where our minimum initial profit target would be. And as we've been talking about, we typically use 50%. So we're looking up somewhere between $16.50 and $17 as the first move to the upside. So we will be watching Tilray today, but remember, elevating yourself to think just a little bit deeper, putting those pieces together. What do I want to see? What don't I want to see? And that's going to influence your trade management as well as your conviction in the idea. Now, here's a monster part of separating yourself from chart reader to trader. This is the first sign of a potential change of trend. So because it's an $11, $12 stock, it's very tempting to get in there with massive size. But think like an institution, think like a hedge fund, think like smart money. This is the first time they are now doing something different. They're starting their position. So we have to be smart and say, okay, they're just starting their position. I'm going to start my position. So what are we looking for next? I'm looking for a push and a pause. And that second pause is where we start to look to add a little bit more. So be smart with this trade because we have a trade just like this about 2 weeks ago, maybe. If we go back over here and we take a look at Roku, we were very, very conscious of this. We actually had this break here and we said, be smart with your position sizing because it's the first sign of this bearish move breaking, which was right here. And we said it has to be the first piece. So that chart of Roku right there is a textbook example of why we constantly say mimic and piggyback what the smart money is doing. And right there in Roku, we're like, it's the first time it's reversing. It has to be the smart trading, the first part of your position. In case it doesn't follow through, you'll have a smaller initial piece and it won't be that big of a deal. Pulls back, you take a flat, no harm, no foul, and you go to your next trade. That's smart trading. That's acting like a pro. And I hope I'm inspiring you to do that every day while you're here. Have to head out and get ready for my other meeting. We're actually running a little bit late right now. If you found this stuff valuable, please do me a favor. Smash that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And hit that subscribe button so you make sure you get updates. We do these every day, Monday through Friday, 7:30 in the morning. Thank you so much for everybody. Do we offer one-on-one coaching? I do not offer one-on-one coaching. Our coaching is inside of the group. So everything you just saw before on the coaching calls, that's what we do together. We are launching the Mastery Collective sometime within the next couple of weeks. We can look for that as well coming out soon. Have an awesome day, everybody. Make some money today. I'll speak to you soon.